Hello.
Hello, Bimini.
Welcome.
We should be audible and visible.
Yes, let us know if we're not
Audible and visible.
all the bulls.
Yes, all of the bulls. I'm going to double check that. Well, no, I'm not because I don't know how I will. Let us know if you can see us and hear us.
And if you can't see us and hear us,
If you can't see us or hear us, then probably nobody will respond. But if you can only see us,
Stacy
look and sound
says
good.
that we look and
All right.
sound good.
Fantastic. Hey,
Hi,
Meg. We got Gina, we got Stacy, we got Meg.
We've got the normal party.
We got the important people here. Oh, Happy New Year again to everybody. And wow, we're on day 2.
It's been a day.
It has been. It's been a day. Yes. But we accomplished some stuff today.
Yeah.
Despite it being a day.
You accomplished more than I did.
Did I?
Yeah.
Slightly. Guinness has a dirt hat.
Guinness does have a dirt hat.
She's like got dirt on her head, like she's been burrowing, and she came up. She still has the dirt on her head. So
that's usually how Luna looks.
She's got a little dirt hat.
Very nice, Guinness. We've got the living room background because the command center is a complete nightmare of a mess.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a lot of...
I was supposed to clean it today, and I didn't.
We got a lot of chaos and disorder in our apartment right now.
But you can't see that.
No.
You can see this.
So we got a lot of work to do. Well, let me go to the end of that. Here, I'm just going to do this for now. A new trick. Oh, the dirt on the head.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, huh?
It's gone.
It's weird because sometimes comments come through. Of course, there's a little bit of a delay. So it's like, huh? What? And then, oh. I think we have a fun topic tonight. We're going to try and bring some positivity into the cruise world by talking about, negative stuff with a positive slant. Not positive stuff in a negative way, which is often what comes up with. Anyway, yes, the magic of YouTube. And we don't have our lights set up either, so we're a little yellow, probably.
Well, these guys are actually going to turn off in 5 minutes.
Okay.
So that might mess with our light.
We got the red light over here. This is our Amityville horror section.
Actually, when those go off, that might be bad. I can just turn them back on.
I can turn this light. Let me turn this overhead light on, because that'll be helpful.
The magic of lighting.
Is that helpful?
Yeah. We're very bright. And I don't just mean smart.
Yes, negative test. Exactly. There we go.
It's been a while since we've been tested. Feels weird to not get tested once a month.
Right? Well, if we get tested now, it's because we are worried that we actually have it.
Yeah, so I know.
Hopefully we won't have to do that.
The dog wants food. Will you throw some food in his bowl and make sure he's got water before we start this?
Sure.
I mean, I do it myself, but
There's food in his bowl.
Is there?
There's like...
Put in like half a scoop, because it's not fresh.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. He's broken. He's weird about it. He's like, that's been sitting there all day.
I mean, the food has been sitting in this container. There's also water.
Yeah, but it's not fresh. I know. The dog is spoiled. Also, can you pick my backpack up so he doesn't get stuff all over it? Thanks. All right, now that we've taken care of our chores in front of everyone. Meg said, my little one is like that as well. It's old.
We've primed some of our minis, some of our 3D prints, which are mostly minis. We haven't really painted them. We've gotten stuff to paint them. We just haven't got around to it. But this is a bigger one. I don't know if we showed this one.
I don't think we showed any of it.
See if I can get it to
hide
focus.
your face. There we go.
Oops.
Yep, you got it.
Pretty cool. It's not a D&D mini. It's just a cute little dragon. It sits on a little stand. I don't think this is the stand for it.
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
Yeah, we primed that one.
We primed the stand, so it sits on there like that. They've got all the different D&D dragons. So, and a cute little. It's so awkward doing that. It's like we're ashamed.
I know. Don't look at us.
Yeah, they've come out really well. Here's
Oh, your mom said, "What kind of symptoms do you have, and how long have you had them?" We're not sick.
No
symptoms. We were just talking about getting tested.
We're saying
if we get tested, it's because we're sick, but we don't need to get tested because we're not sick.
Yeah, no symptoms. We're all good. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
She's probably like, I just got off the phone with you guys and you didn't say this.
No, we were talking about the fact that we don't need to get tested.
Right.
And hopefully we won't need to get tested.
Right.
Again. Maybe ever.
Hopefully.
So.
We'll see.
Okay. We've got a couple minutes before we start. So if anybody's got any quick stuff they want to ask or say or tell us about, now is your chance. Looks like we've only got 3 people on according to this. So if you do join us in the next few seconds while I'm talking, once we start the podcast, we probably won't interact a whole lot while we're recording the podcast. And then after the podcast is over, then we'll come back and hang out for a few minutes. Although I know Para DJ comes on tonight, I'm assuming at 8 o'clock. That's usually when they come on. And so we will probably try and finish up as close to 8 p.m. as possible.
Stacy, we buy most of the stuff for the 3D printer on Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon.
That's where we got the printer. We buy the resin off of there. All of the little knickknacks and supplies that we've gotten for it, accessories, all from Amazon so far. Or like we've gotten a couple things from like Lowe's or Home Depot.
Yeah.
But
the resin itself is, you can get it. There are websites that sell it. I don't think there are any stores locally that sell it. If there are, I don't know where they are. I haven't been able to find them.
Good night, snakes.
But yeah, most of the resin places sell through Amazon, as well as maybe
Has that messed up the lighting? Do you want me to turn them back on?
I think it's fine.
Okay. Hello, Mallory from Frozen, Wisconsin.
Hey, Mallory.
The animals are good. It is time for us to start. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready? I can't figure out how to do this.
Come with me, we're going on a Fintastic cruise. Pick your destination with news, tips, and reviews. But here is an item you might not have thought of. All of the things under the water. Nature surrounds us with elegant features. You can't go on a cruise and not see the creatures. So let's make some magic, let's get ecstatic. Instantly classic, maybe romantic. The wildlife around you, cinematic on your Fintastic cruise.
Bon Beanie, and welcome to another episode of Fintastic Cruising. I am Matt.
And I'm Kimbra.
Welcome to 2022.
The first episode of the new year.
Yes. And it came to my attention that George Jetson was supposed to have been born in 2022. And the movie Soylent Green takes place in 2022. So those are 2 very different looks at the future, which is now, and neither one of them is our reality, but who knows where we'll be in another 20 years. So, do you know the movie Soylent Green?
I don't.
It's an older movie. To be honest, I've never seen it. I just know about it. It's kind of an extreme movie where there's like a small percentage of people that have everything and everybody else is like poor and starving, not too far off from where we are. And then they're desperate for food, so they're eating this stuff that becomes readily available called Soylent Green. But it turns out that Soylent Green is made from people. So that's like the big thing. Soylent Green is people.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay.
So,
I know the Jetsons.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So there you go. But hey, it's 2022. So welcome to it. If you are new to our podcast, welcome new people in for the new year. I don't really know why I said that. I expect all these people to come in the new year.
We suddenly have a whole new group of people joining the podcast.
You know what? This topic might bring a few people in. That's different.
That's
because
true.
We've got. I don't think it's a clickbait topic because we are going to talk about that topic, but it is a kind of a shocker topic, and it's definitely in the news right now. It's in stuff, but we're gonna.
I thought you were gonna say in the nude.
It's in the nude. Yeah, it's in the nude right now, and that'll bring a lot of people in as well.
I have no idea why I thought you were gonna say that.
Stay tuned for the nude. No, speaking of nude, our group cruise, which was supposed to originally be in February of 2023, we had to reschedule it to March of 2023 because it got basically pirated by the nude cruise.
Since we're talking about it.
And yeah, I thought that'd be a good segue into join us. I think we have Andrew and Mallory are gonna be booking on that cruise.
They're
now.
technically officially booked.
There you go. My mom got it as a Christmas present from my cousin. She got her ticket. So more and more people getting on board, quite literally, to the Carnival Pride sailing out of Tampa, March 12th through the 19th, 2023, going to Grand Cayman, Roatan, Belize, and Cozumel in that order, mind you. And it's going to be fantastic. Our first fantastic group cruise, and it's going to be a lot of great people, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So,
and if you're interested, send me an email at fintastictravel@gmail.com.
That's fintastictravel@gmail.com. You know what we should do? We should make a little thing that pops up that has that email on the screen.
Oh.
It won't help people that are listening to the audio, but if you are watching it on YouTube, it will help you out. And if you're like, dang it, just go to the show notes of any of our YouTube videos, any of our podcast show notes, and you will find that email in there as well. If you have questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, whatever for the podcast, you can also email us at fintasticcruising@gmail.com. But if you want to know about going on the cruise, we would prefer that you use the other email because it is the one that we use directly for customers that are booking any cruise, actually, because we can book cruises for you besides that as well. There you go. Look at that. The magic of technology. There it is. Ta-da! Right there. Bam. Right there. Just like that. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about before we get into it?
No.
No?
Not that I can think of. I'm sure there's something, but no.
Okay. All right. So tonight's topic is how has the coronavirus, COVID, impacted cruising? Now, there's a lot of talk about it because Omicron, it's crazy and everything's, it's all over the news again. Like, it was interesting because whenever coronavirus first hit, cruise ships were in the news because there were some really poorly handled, poorly understood situations that ended up tragic. Yes. But then after that, cruise lines did pretty good media-wise for a while. Like, we thought it was going to be like jump on the cruise lines and pound them into the ground and stuff. That didn't really happen too much. But now it is. Now they're piling on. It's like all of a sudden, even though cruises have been happening less time than other things have been open, but for a while now, all of a sudden with Omicron, it's like, the CDC's like, you shouldn't cruise and blah, 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 blah. Well, we're not going to talk about that specifically, at least right now. But what we are going to talk about is how COVID has impacted cruising, but we're talking about like what happens when we're past all this COVID crap stuff, and what are going to be the lasting effects. And we're not looking at negatives. Honestly, I don't know if there will be any negatives in the long run. There probably are. But they don't pop out. But there are some positives.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some things that COVID has made cruising change for
Yes.
the good.
Yes, and things that aren't going to change back. Like, I mean, there's things that have happened, like more people working from home. There's things that have happened to society that will ultimately that glass half full perspective on this whole situation. Obviously, I don't mean that I'm glad that it happened or anything like that. No, that's not what I'm saying. But we did make a top 10 list of things that we think will change permanently or probably permanently, or that have already changed and will be permanent as far as cruising goes. So we're going to count up to what we think is the coolest one or the best one from 10 up to 1. Right?
Yeah. My mom just texted me, and apparently the post that I put up for the podcast on Facebook, I put recoding this week's podcast instead of recording.
Oh, okay.
So that was really random, but we're not recoding the podcast.
No, we don't code it at all, actually.
Like, yeah.
Sugar coated. Or is it like HTML coded? I don't know. I don't know all the programming.
It's been edited
language
now.
lingo.
Yeah.
So, all right, Kimbra, what do you want to do?
That was off topic.
That was way off topic. So let's get back to it. The 10 things that we think are positive impacts from COVID.
Yeah.
What is number 10?
Number 10 is the cruise lines have been putting out some really good deals. They always throw out some deals here and there, but I feel like they've been really trying to get more people in. So the deals have been insanely good.
Now, this is not something that you could say, well, because of COVID, now the prices are going to be better. But I think what I heard a lot of whenever COVID was happening and the cruise lines were shut down is that, oh, the cruise lines are going to jack up the prices. Everything's going to be more expensive. I don't think we've seen that. We've seen a lot of really amazing deals. There might be some inflation on cruising once things get back to quote unquote normal. But I don't think that we're going to see these huge inflated prices anytime soon. So, the cruise lines are still willing and I guess able to give pretty amazing deals. So that's why that's kind of number 10, because it sort of doesn't really fit in our list that well. But we thought we should still at least mention it in the list. All right. And number 9.
Number 9. It says Bimini.
It does say Bimini. So what I mean by Bimini, this was my input here, is that yes, Virgin was supposed to go to Bimini, and that was the first cruise line that was supposed to go to Bimini. But now Carnival goes to Bimini, and I think there may be some other cruise lines that go to Bimini. It's opened up Bimini, and it's not just Bimini. I feel like the whole coronavirus situation has caused the cruising industry to kind of take a second look, because they can't go to certain islands. So to take a second look at where they can go and how they go there. So we've heard about cruises that were doing overnights in places that weren't Bermuda. We've heard about cruises that were staying different time frames. And so I think one of the positives that come out of the COVID thing with cruising is that it's caused the cruise lines to think a little bit outside of their Caribbean box. Now, I don't know if this has had an impact in other parts of the world as far as cruising goes. I'm only familiar with the Caribbean, but just Bimini in and of itself, because as you guys know, not a real big fan of Virgin voyages, but I'm a real big fan of Bimini. So if I can take a Carnival cruise to Bimini, that's something I couldn't have done. I feel like that wouldn't have happened had we not gotten COVID.
Right.
I don't think Carnival would have went there. And
No.
maybe they would have. I don't know, but they weren't. As far as I know, they weren't planning on that. But the Bahamas were a little more lenient about being open, and so They can't go to Grand Cayman. They can't go to Bonaire. They can't go to some of the other islands in like the Southeastern Caribbean. So what are they going to do? Let's go to Bimini. We can go to Bimini. Let's go to 2 stops in Dominican Republic. You know, let's do.
I know Royal Caribbean did some overnight time in Coco Cay.
Right, exactly. So that's a plus.
Yeah,
that's a good thing, I think. And so pretty cool. All right, what's number 8?
Number 8 is they're using less paper. So for Carnival, they've gotten rid of the fun times. They do it all in the app. A lot of the restaurants and bars have like the QR code that you scan, so you get the menu there. They don't have the menu for every person to touch and stuff. So less paper, which is better for the environment.
It is better for the environment. Now, there are some people who really like to have that tactile fun times. And I think that it's important that the cruise lines offer that to people that do have that preference. I don't think that they should just eliminate it completely. If you're one of those people, that's fine. But for people like Kimbra and myself, we don't care about that. So why print it if we don't need it? It's just saving them money. It's better for the environment. And I actually really like the menu thing, especially the bar menu. I love that I can slide up to the bar, scan a barcode, and see all the drinks that they offer at that bar, because I don't know drinks. Like, I can't just go to a bar randomly and order a drink. I'm just not that knowledgeable about beverages. And it used to be they only had, a couple menus, or it depends on the ship. Sometimes they had more menus, but I feel like there's just more access to that. And I also feel like I can look at it before we even go, like this, which bar do we want to go to? Well, I can look at all these menus in the app and say, hey, this one has more drinks that look interesting. Same with the food. I used to have to go and
go over by the main dining room and look
on the wall.
Yeah.
Now I can just go through, and that can help me plan what I want to do on the cruise. Do I want to eat in the buffet one night? Do I want to eat at the steakhouse one night? Well, if so, what night? Well, I can look there and go, Tuesday doesn't really have a whole lot that I'm excited about. Definitely don't want to miss Wednesday, though. So it can help me to plan that out better. So I think that's a plus. But like I said, I don't think they should take away the paper for people that want it.
No, not everybody carries around their phone, or like there's still a lot of people that have like flip phones and stuff.
Yeah.
The older cruising community.
Are there really?
I think there's some people that still have flip phones.
Okay.
Nan still has a flip phone.
Okay. There's one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, or there's even those times that like we've, put our phones on the charger and we're like, oh, we don't need it.
Yeah.
And then we go up to the bar and we're like, oh, we don't need it, which most of the time isn't a problem because we have our phones. But it's nice that then they do have like one copy that you can look at.
And I will say, I do kind of like looking at the physical menu in the MDR or like the steakhouse. Like I would say that I would, but you could reuse that once we're out of these stupid times. But I still like having both. I like having both. So there's number 8. What about number 7? Can you handle number 7?
Number 7, the air handling systems. So they've improved the way air moves through the ship.
Yeah, I mean, supposedly
they say that they did.
Right.
I haven't physically seen that because I can't see air.
But look, I mean, COVID aside, there is a thing that people talk about called like cruising funk, which is, I tend to get some kind of cold or something. Not a thing I've experienced with all my cruising, but I've heard people talk about it. I know it's that way when you go to like I'm a sci-fi convention guy. So I've worked sci-fi conventions, and I know there's like definitely convention funk, but you're face to face with a lot more people with a lot worse hygiene. So that's a thing. But look, they've supposedly improved the ventilation systems better. I think it gives you more separated air and filtered air and stuff, because that was one of the problems that whenever the coronavirus first hit, on like the princess ships and stuff, that
all the air was
just circulating all those germs through.
Yeah.
And that's, that might not be a huge deal as far as when COVID's gone, but it's still a deal. Like, you still don't want to get a cold or something, so, and it's fresher air. I don't want to be breathing in, the cabin next to me's air. If they just spent 3 days picking out of the buffet, there's some unpleasantness that's going to come through that vent system. So, yeah. So it makes us, worse hygiene is an understatement for cons. Yes, we won't talk about gamer funk, but that's a thing. Anyway, so that seems to be something that has been upgraded. I think that was kind of a requirement for some of the CDC stuff, and that's why some ships maybe still aren't sailing. I'm suspecting new ships that come out will definitely be a consideration, and that's just good. That's just better right there in general.
I just want to point out that Reno looks really cute right now, snuggled up with his hippo toy.
I'm just glad he's sleeping and not disrupting the podcast.
Well, we're not done yet.
That's true. All right, on to number 6.
Number six, confidence in cruising. What do you mean by confidence in cruising, Matt?
Well, we've had some people ask us questions about cruises that they have booked in the semi-near future, like in the spring, summer. Should they consider canceling? Should they be concerned? And it's really easy for us now, after we've gone through the last 2 years, to very confidently and comfortably tell them, no, don't sweat it. You're okay. All the cruise lines have got a really good record of taking care of customers. If there is an issue with COVID, or if there's other issues that are beyond the control of the cruise industry and the customer, I'm not talking about personal problems that may cause you to not be able to cruise. I'm talking about things that are, happening in the world. The cruise lines are going to take care of you. They're going to give you your money back. They're going to offer you deals for future cruises. And look, a lot of people came out way ahead on those as far as like cruise credits and things like that go. So I really feel comfortable with the cruise lines. Like I think they did a stellar job on the whole, taking care of people. Now, having said that, I also strongly encourage you to get cruise insurance no matter when you're cruising, because there could be things that happen to you in your personal life that's not the fault of the cruise line. That is not your fault necessarily, but it's a personal thing. The cruise line's not going to give you your money back necessarily if those things happen. So, maybe you get a flight that gets canceled, or when we did a Cruise Geeks La Lita Loca group cruise together, there was a family that didn't make it because they got their oil changed, and the place that changed their oil forgot to put new oil in their truck, and they drove off and like messed up their motor, and they were cutting it too close. They didn't make it to the cruise. I don't know if they had cruise insurance, but if they didn't, they're just SOL. So get cruise insurance, but know that the cruise line is going to take care of you. So you don't really have to sweat it. Okay, moving on. Kimber just put a picture of Reno up for those of you that are only listening to. Because if the dog isn't distracting us, she'll distract us with the dog, is what I'm figuring out here. So was there anything else that you wanted to say about confidence in cruising?
Well, I wasn't listening to everything you said.
I didn't think so.
But they've been really good about refunds and credits and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And I think that they'll continue doing that in general. Now, there probably won't be as lenient, once this finally ends, hopefully soon-ish.
Right.
But if something
part,
ever happens again,
yeah,
we know that they'll cover what they need to.
So get cruise insurance for normal time stuff, but also know that, but feel comfortable and confident the cruise lines are not going to screw you over, because if they do, they're going to gain a bad reputation really fast, and that is not going to be a long-term good business plan for them. The other thing that is my concern, like people ask me, would you cruise right now? And my answer to that is of course I would. I love cruising, but I would be a little worried about cruising in the next month or two. Not because I'm worried about my health, because I'm not super scared of current version of coronavirus, and I'm vaccinated and all that stuff. But I would be concerned that they might take away some of my islands, like our friends Andrew and Mallory. They got Bonaire and Aruba taken away from their ABC trip. But here's another thing that the cruise line did. They didn't just short them completely. I mean, that could happen if they don't have it. They can only do so much. But in their case, they ended up going to Dominican Republic and
Amber Cove.
To Amber Cove. So,
Yeah.
So they did get to go to another one. And I really think that happened because they happened to be sailing when everything just blew up again. And so they had some outbreaks on the ship, and these islands were like, whoa. Like, I think now the cruise lines are going to be like they were 2 or 3 months ago, where they know which islands are going to say no, they know which are going to say yes, they know it in advance. So they're going to adjust that itinerary beforehand. Things can happen. I mean, this can happen during regular times too. You could have really choppy seas, and so you can't get to Grand Cayman because it's a tender port, or Belize because it's a tender port. These things happen. So you have to always kind of have that laid back, open mind about cruising anyway. But the cruise line is going to do their best to take care of you. They're going to go, they're going to try their hardest to make the customers happy. And I think this whole situation has just really cemented that in my mind, that is their objective.
Yeah.
So, all right. What is number 5?
This has disproved the Petri dish theory.
Yes. This irks me because you hear this all the time. Cruise ships are just floating Petri dishes.
Yeah.
Now, look, of course, there is a higher probability of you getting sick on a cruise ship than certain other activities. But if you put all the activities that you could do in a row, cruise ships are not at the top of that list. Have you gone to a theme park? Have you gone to a bar? Have you gone to a sporting event? Have you gone to an elementary school? Have you taught camp with children? Are you a teacher? All these things put you at a much higher risk of getting infected with any kind of airborne transmittable disease. Yes, you are stuck on a ship with these people, but I don't know. I don't ever feel like I'm at greater risk on a cruise ship. Having been on nearly 20 cruises, I've never gotten sick on a cruise. I've never gotten sick after a cruise. I know that's happened to people. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but I have gotten sick doing a lot of other things that I've done less that don't get called Petri dishes. And I think that the reason that I put this on this list is because whenever cruising started back up again, there were the doom and gloom media and other people who were like, oh, cruising's back, it's going to be floating morgues and all this. Well, that just isn't the case. Even now with Omicron, that's like, it's so contagious. You just look at a person across the room and they've got it. There are more cases on cruise ships now, but there are more
cases everywhere.
Everywhere. And I would love to see somebody do a comparison of statistically what percentage of people are getting sick on cruises compared to these other things. It's probably a really hard study to do, but it's less than 1% of the people that have been cruising that have gotten COVID. And it's only really started to pick up in the last few weeks since Omicron. And I can tell you that, it's picking up everywhere. You probably all know that. Like, there's lots of people that are sick, businesses that can't open because they've got too many people that are sick. Fortunately, it doesn't seem like they're in the hospital sick. But I can tell you that from personal experience, there's a lot of short staff going on right now. A lot. And so, I think that cruising, I still feel like if you were like, you can go to a sporting event, a concert, a theme park, a casino, a bar, or a cruise, I'm going to feel safer going on a cruise than any of those other things. And yes, I know I could do some of those things on a cruise because everybody on that cruise, almost everybody on that cruise, is going to be vaccinated and they're all going to get tested. So does that mean 100% nobody gets COVID? No, but it does mean that you're filtering out a lot of people that would have got through all those other things. So anyway,
And
not a
there's
petri dish.
And there's a lot of outdoor space. So you can, like, if there's too many people, you can go away from them.
Right, right. Now, Sean says, Matt, unfortunately, you're preaching to the converted. We all agree with you. I know that most of the people that normally listen to our podcast and watch us would probably be just on the sidelines shaking their pom-poms. But I just feel like there's so much negative right now about cruising that we were like, what topic do we want to do this week? And I thought, you know what? I want to do something positive. It's the new year. You know, I want to push forward and I want to push back a little bit. If you've followed this podcast through the pandemic, you know that we don't usually talk about it. Like, we didn't want to be that podcast. Like, we didn't want to focus on that. We wanted to focus on just cruising. But I think in this case, we wanted to just really kind of put that positive twist. Maybe some people out there will see the title and be curious and watch it, and they'll hear this perspective, and maybe it'll cause them to do a little bit. If they, depending on what their opinion is, maybe it'll just cause them to rethink. That's all I ask. Just think about things, people. Use your critical thinking skills. You know, that's all I'm asking. So, all right. Anyway, number 4.
Number 4. Even stronger focus on health and safety. Yeah, so cruise lines have always been like, wash your hands.
Washy.
And I don't know, probably other stuff. Blow your nose.
Blow your nose?
I don't know.
Really? I've never had anybody on a cruise line tell me to blow my nose, except maybe you. That's probably it, though.
I've told you to blow your nose?
You probably have. I've got like boogers hanging out.
Well, they've always been like, wash your hands, but
yes.
They're, you know, they've stepped that up a little bit.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The fear has always been getting some sort of stomach virus. Like, that's what you've always heard about on cruises, is like the stomach virus that runs through the cruise ship because of all the dirty buffet stuff and things. So they've been very concerned about washing your hands. Some cruise lines will not let you serve yourself on the first day. This is before COVID, and things like that. They're still doing all that stuff, but now they're even being more conscientious of health things. Like we mentioned, the air handling systems. There's more access to hand sanitizers than there used to be.
They sanitize your door handles.
Yeah. They're taking extra steps. So when we get through this stuff, I feel like some of that is probably going to go away because it's probably overkill, but some of it's a little bit more is going to stick, and it's just going to make cruising even less risky as far as getting colds or stomach issues and stuff. So I think that's going to be a positive outcome. That's something that changes with the cruising industry. Makes us thinking, people. I know. I ask a lot, but and May also said, at least on a ship, most people are vaccinated. Yeah, right, exactly. So so I feel more comfortable if I know that the people around me are vaccinated. Yeah. I know you can still get it. I know you can still get a breakthrough case, but it's all about risk management and statistics and odds, and that's just giving me better odds. So I like those odds.
And Sean said, don't forget about the constant cleaning of the ship.
Right.
Absolutely. They're constantly, wiping down tables, cleaning windows and walls and handrails and
some of the
blowing their nose.
Some of the things like we mentioned with the no paper are going to help with diseases that are transmitted through touch, which COVID doesn't seem to be one. But for like the what's the stomach thing called? I can't think of what it's called, but that one is transmitted through touch and then mouth and stuff like that. It's going to help with that.
Just don't put your fingers in your mouth.
Well, that's hard. That's easy to say, but
I know
when you're eating that guy's burger and stuffing them fries in, wash your hands before you eat after you go to a buffet or something like that.
Yes.
You should do that. Norovirus. Thank you, Meg. Norovirus. You should do that in normal life anyway. You should always wash your hands before you eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, it's funny because working with animals and the public for as long as I do a lot of things where I can interact with the public with animals, and every place nowadays in the United States is very strict about giving people hand sanitizer to clean their hands after touching an animal. And yeah, that's important, but I think it's kind of funny because I always try and explain to people that, yeah, you should wash your hands after touching an animal before you eat, but it's even more important that you wash your hands before you eat after interacting with other humans, because you're much more likely to catch something from them than this snake that I'm holding. Just saying. So, don't think the animals are dirty. It's just, this is an over precaution for something that you should be precautioning. I'm going to say that's a word, precautioning about in your everyday life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Stacy and Sean are both like norovirus, noro. So, okay. Moving on to number 3.
Number 3 says, proves it's a strong industry amidst shutdown despite negative press.
Yes. That's another thing that I am sick and tired of hearing people like, when all this happened, the cruising industry isn't going to survive. And, I was a little concerned at first, but the cruising industry is just fine.
Everybody still wants, well, not everybody, but people definitely still want to cruise. There is absolutely no question that people are ready to jump on a cruise ship right now.
Yes.
Cruising will be okay.
I mean, they did have to tighten their belts. Carnival had to get rid of some ships. Some of the other lines had to get rid of some ships. They had to make some sacrifices. Didn't we all during this time? Most of us, but they're going to be okay. They are not going out of business, even if the CDC shut them down again for a few months until this stupid Omicron thing passes by, which I don't think they will. The cruise line's going to survive. They can handle that. They can withstand it. And I think they've proven that. I mean, if they didn't prove that, then they wouldn't be building all these new ships. They didn't stop building new ships. They sold some of their old ships and they've streamlined stuff. I'm sure it cost them a lot of money. They lost a lot in profits. They're still building new ships. They wouldn't be doing that if they were like in dire straits or something. Cruise industry is going to be just fine. So yes, that is number 3. Number 2.
My phone keeps turning off.
Yeah, and Stacy says, what other business could have survived what happened to the cruise lines for over a year? Right, because no other business in the United States that I know of got shut down as long as cruising did. None of them.
Cruise lines have gotten so much.
They have taken the brunt. They have taken the brunt, and it
doesn't end. Like it just keeps happening, and
it's not fair. Like it's so ridiculous that you can do all these other things opened up, and whether I agree with those or not is another topic for discussion. But all these things opened up with no restrictions, especially in Florida, and the cruise industry was just like halted. But they were resilient. So yeah. Sean says Australian P&O in Australia P&O Australia still have not been given the nod. They are still in business and they are prepared to wait for the go ahead. I mean, right. These are huge mega companies. And I'm sure there are some smaller companies that did not withstand.
But even Bahamas Paradise is holding up. Like I thought that one was going to be gone.
Right.
But they did sell one of their ships.
Yeah, they're hanging on. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a strong industry. And if that's not evident by the fact that, I mean, look how much more popular cruising has gotten in the last 10 years. Like it has just exploded. And you can tell that from the cruising community that has exploded from nothing to hundreds of cruising channels and websites and groups. And that's just the people that are into it enough to participate in those things. So yeah. There you go. Bahamas Paradise is becoming Margaritaville.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm. So maybe they got bought out.
Okay. I knew that
and
Margaritaville was
repackaged.
becoming a thing. I didn't know that
that
was the same
Bahamas
thing.
Paradise.
Yeah.
That could be a good thing.
Yeah, it could
Bahamas
be.
Paradise is a little sketchy.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but that could be fun.
Cool. I'd be interested in trying that.
That could be like the anti-Virgin Voyages cruise line then, because it could be like, instead of like totally obsessed with how things look and everything being,
it's just chill,
like
sit
chill,
back,
relax. Like I could
drink
totally,
your beer on the beach.
I could get behind that 100%.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll have to try
That's
that
the cruise
out.
I think I would like.
All right, on to number 2.
Number 2, technology. So the technology has gotten crazy good for, what it was. Like the Carnival's app was already really good, but it's even better.
Yeah.
Royal has done something with their app, so it's actually usable. Not amazing, but usable. The embarkation and debarkation process, with how it works with the technology of the take your picture and you do it all on the app ahead of time, it's super quick. I think they were probably getting there anyway,
right?
But they had that year and a half to like really focus in on it and get that technology taken care of.
Yeah.
And they've done well.
Yeah, this is where things were headed, but they weren't going fast. They were moving at like landline speeds instead of internet now they're moving at fiber optic speeds. So it sped everything up because they had all this downtime, and they needed, out of necessity, to get some of these virtual things going. They were already tinkering it with it. Like Princess had the thing, and Virgin would have come out with their band, which for the most part worked really well.
Yeah.
But everything got expedited, and there were a lot of improvements in all the technology, especially the apps, of course. But like you said, checking in and out and facial detection. I mean, man, that one positive about Virgin Voyages, it was so easy, like getting on and off the ship, because you just had the bracelet, just bloop, and they could see your face. Like, that's coming to everybody, but I think it's coming a lot faster now because
I still miss the card.
Everything.
Like, I like the card.
I mean, I don't know.
It's my souvenir piece.
So you've just got to.
I know.
You've just got to find it something else.
Well, it was supposed to be the keychain, but Virgin also didn't have that.
Well, okay. All right. Well, find all the other cruise ships will have that. I bet even the Margaritaville ship will have keychains.
I hope so.
I'm sure they will.
We're going to do that, right?
Yeah, of course we will.
Cool.
Of course we're going to do that. So, okay. So number 2, technology and stuff has just got like kicked into overdrive, and definitely a big plus, a big boost.
Yes.
As far as that goes. Part of that goes with the menus and stuff being virtual as well. And then number 1, if you've been on a cruise since the pandemic, you already know what number 1 is. It's such a small part of the cruise, but it was the worst part of the cruise, other than them making you get off the ship. And now it is barely worth mentioning, other than the fact that it's so much easier to do. And what is number 1, Kimbra?
Muster. Yes, it is amazing. You watch a video, you go get your card scanned, and you're done. No more standing in tight lines and crowds of snotty children for minutes on end.
Yeah, talk about worrying about getting sick. I remember being smashed out on the deck, like lined up like cattle, waiting for the people that couldn't make it to the stupid muster on time. And then just there's like a kid like always in front of me, diagonally to my right, who's like and I'm like, oh, this is a 7-night cruise, kid. If I get sick in 2 or 3 days, I'm coming after you. But also it's hot. It's just inconvenient. Muster is so easy now. I mean, Virgin needs to. If Virgin's muster would have been the muster before COVID, we would have been like, this is amazing. Now we're like, come on, Virgin, this sucks.
I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it was
relative to like what Carnival and Royal are doing for muster. Oh, so easy.
Yeah.
And you know what? Not only is it easier, I honestly, as an educator type of person, that was a good way to say that in an
Educated way.
In an improper sentence. I'm going to learn you. But from an educator's perspective, I feel like people probably learn and retain that information better the way Muster is done now than being cattle called onto the deck, waiting forever for them to come on.
Well, I was going to say, I actually probably know what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
Because when you're standing with all those people, sometimes you're in the very back. You can't even hear them talk. You don't even know what they're trying to tell you. They're holding up some life jacket and they stick it on and then they say bye.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what they told me to do before.
Yeah.
Now, at least, like with Royal, you watch the video. Carnival, you have to watch them do it for like a minute, but it's quick, it's done, and you actually do have that. You know what you're actually supposed to do if something happens.
Right. So I think that it's better from a customer service perspective. It's also better from a safety perspective. It's just a win-win kind of a situation. So look, I mean, like I said in the beginning, I'm not celebrating COVID by any stretch of the imagination. It's horrible, but there are positive things that have come out of it. Just like war, there's positive things that come out of it by necessity. And not to compare COVID to war, but I think that there are things that have changed that will remain changed in our lives that are for the better. And in the cruising world, I think there are quite a few examples of those. So there, that's our positive outlook on the future of cruising.
Yes.
Thanks, coronavirus.
Thank you, COVID.
But also F you, COVID.
Yeah.
So right. So that, if you have things, did we miss something? Are there negative things that we aren't thinking of? Because we didn't really cover negative things. I'd have to really stop and think about it to come up with some negative things. But let us know. Send us an email, fintasticcruising@gmail.com. And we will, maybe we'll talk about those. But this podcast is about cruising, and there's the dog again. We want to keep it positive. So
he's just so stinking cute.
It's the same picture though. You
want me to take a new one? It was a process to get it to the computer.
Oh, brother.
If I had a Mac, this wouldn't be a problem.
If you are if you are just listening to this in the future, then I'm sorry, but you can go watch the YouTube and you can see Reno curled up. All right, well, let's get to our cruise creature then. Well, did that just cut off?
Yeah, it did.
It just
Why did it cut off?
I don't know. It also does this weird thing where it speeds up music and slows it down. And stuff like that. And that's like a StreamYard issue or something. Well, look, we were trying to think what would be a good cruise creature for today's episode. When we can, we try and relate it to the episode. Sometimes that's hard. We just have to go for a cruise creature. This is our 121st episode, and we have had a new cruise creature for almost every single one of those. There's been a couple when we didn't cover a single creature, but
we also repeated one.
We did repeat one, but almost 120 creatures have been covered. Let's just say 115. And I think we can solidly say 115 creatures have been covered.
That's a lot of creatures
on this podcast.
And I've done a couple of them.
You have done a couple of them, but one of them that we haven't covered, which is, to be fair, you'll probably never see this creature on a cruise.
Sean said it cut off because you're not using a Mac.
Okay. We'll probably never see this creature on a cruise, but you could, especially if you're cruising in Australia or California. There's a slight but real possibility you could potentially see this creature, and that is Carcaradon carcarius, the great white shark. Now, why the great white shark? Because I was trying to think of what cruise creature to do, and I was like, what's a cruise creature that can relate to the cruising industry? Like a creature that is really not a bad creature. It's a good creature. People that know this creature love it and think it's an amazing thing, but it gets a lot of bad press because of a few very isolated incidents. But the press just jumps on it and makes it out to be something that it's not, something very negative, but yet it overcomes that. And I thought, of course, the great white shark. I mean, what a great example. It's gone through a lot of different views through society over the years. Jaws didn't do it any favors, although a lot of people who are like us were influenced by Jaws and then turned that into a positive. So I'm not anti-Jaws, but it did have some negative effects. But look, great white sharks are really, really cool animals, and they're really important animals to our oceans, and they get a bad reputation that they don't deserve. It is extremely rare that people are actually harmed by great white sharks. And if you look at it from the shark's perspective and how many sharks are harmed by humans, it's a joke to complain about great white sharks. I mean, hundreds, I've heard numbers as high as hundreds of millions, at least hundreds of thousands of sharks killed each year, and not in sustainable ways. Shark populations around the world are shrinking for many species. Great white shark is one of them. It's really hard for biologists to get the census numbers on a shark, especially one like the great white shark, because unlike, say, lemon sharks or Caribbean reef sharks, that they may do a little bit of migration, but not as much. Great white sharks, we've come to realize they are swimming long distances. So to do population studies is really, really tricky on an animal that, one, you can't even see half the time, and two, they're not in the same place all the time. So it's tricky, but we can tell from other things that in certain areas, shark populations are being negatively impacted. In other places, though, things have changed. Like in the case of the great white shark, there are populations that are starting to rebound. It's causing problems in other things that are off balance because of things that have happened in our environment. But that's a good thing. And that is partially because despite all the negative press and negative publicity these animals get, I feel like on the whole, society has grown past the sharks are scary monsters. There are still plenty of people that feel that way. And let me tell you, I see them every day. But on the whole, I think that society has grown up a little bit and learned to look at the shark as another animal and an amazing creature in our world. So great white sharks are the pinnacle of that, getting huge. Do you know how big great white sharks can get?
24 feet.
24 feet has not been proven.
20 feet.
But 20 feet has. So there are.
I was gonna say 20, but I felt like it wasn't enough.
There are plenty of instances where sharks have been great white sharks, which, by the way, for our Australian listeners, sometimes are called white pointers. They've been found and there's claims that they've been over 20 feet. There's even a claim of great white shark, that was like 37 feet, which is probably horribly wrong. But in many of the cases, there were photographs, but it was weird perspectives. A lot of them have been debunked. So as a science leaning person, I always tend to err on the side of caution. And so I will not confirm that any great white sharks have been found over 20 feet because I don't know that. And I don't think anyone does, except maybe if you're a shark swimming out there and you know how to do measurements. But that's probably not very many of them. So, but 20 feet is big.
I was going to try and think of a shark that could possibly do measurements, but the first shark that popped in my head was the cookie cutter shark, who probably doesn't measure
that's
things.
That's not going to work. So, hey, Professor Travel's in there. Hey,
I know.
Professor
I
Travel.
said hi to him.
Oh, well, so now I tried the last one. So females, by the way, in sharks typically are bigger than males. So where the average female great white is not going to get to 20 feet, they're going to probably average more like around 15 or 16 feet. The average male is going to top off at usually around 12, maybe 13 feet, but they're considerably smaller. So when you get these huge, monstrous 20-foot sharks, they're probably big females. And there's also a difference in poundage. So great white sharks, they're like me. They get taller and then they just start to expand. And the females especially get real big. So yeah, They can get, so they look pretty big, but nothing compared to the biggest sharks in the world, which of course are
Whale sharks.
whale shark. And what's number 2? You don't know the second largest shark? Also a filter feeder?
Oh, the basking shark.
I was going to say, I knew she knew that. That's why I was giving her grief. Whale sharks can get at least 45 feet, and basking sharks, I think they're like, I don't know. I'd have to look them up. I don't know off the top of my head, but they're not as big as whale sharks, but they're bigger than white sharks.
How big was Jaws supposed to be in the movie?
So I want to say Jaws was only supposed to be about, well, which movie? Because it got bigger and bigger. And then in the later movies, which scene? Because it changed from scene to scene. Talk to me about the movie Anaconda. Anyway, I want to say like 20 feet or 25 feet. Like, it wasn't that big of an exaggeration from a real big great white shark. It wasn't like, unlike Megalodon, which is like, not only is that shark extinct, and yes, I will die on that hill, but also the Megalodon movies make the shark way bigger than it ever could have been. Like, most scientists will tell you that Megalodon got maybe 50 feet. Of course, you can find plenty of material that'll tell you they got 70 feet, but that's probably wrong. We don't know. It could be right, but it's probably not. So anyway, great white sharks, they live in really all over the planet, just about in the oceans. So they're not a shark that goes into fresh water, at least not very far. They might go up a little bit into a brackish area, like in New York. There was where the Jaws movie was inspired by. There was an incident up there a long time ago, but they're more of a coastal shark, and they tend to be in colder water. So that's partially because of their anatomy, but partially because of their diet. So great white sharks are big and they burn a lot of energy. They're almost warm-blooded. So they have to eat a lot. And so you have to eat something with a lot of fat and stuff to make it worthwhile too. So they're going to eat a lot of seals, sea lions, things like that, mammals. And most of those things are going to be in colder water, where you get sharks like tiger sharks that are going to be in more tropical water, and they're going to eat big things like sea turtles and stuff of that nature. They still eat fish and everything, but really they're going to sustain on those big pinnipeds and things like that. So
not people.
Not people. In fact, you guys have all heard this before, but when sharks do bite humans, typically it's one and done. Like, there are exceptions to that for sure, and that we think that's because we're just bony creatures. Even us fluffy cruisers are kind of too bony for the shark, so they bite into us. They're like, no, that ain't right. You've only had that meal where you bite into it and you're like, I don't think I'm going to take another bite of that. That's how humans are to sharks. At least that's kind of how we understand them to be, because if they weren't, then there'd be a lot more shark attacks than there actually are. So, and those shark attacks would end differently, because normally a person is bit and then the shark is gone. Like I said, there are exceptions to that. Watch Shark Week. They'll highlight all 3 of them over and over again for the next 10 years. But normally that's not the case. That's not what happens. Now, Carcaradon is their genus, and that actually literally translates into jagged teeth. So Carcaradon, Carcarius is jagged teeth shark. I don't know what the Carcarius etymology is, but that's what Carcaradon is. Carcass. I don't know.
I don't know. That's the first word that I thought of when you said that.
Yeah. What else? What else about great white sharks? They've been around a long time, but not as long as Megalodon.
Well, we did have a question asking if we would snorkel or dive with them.
Oh, yes, 100%.
Yep.
Now, I will say the great white shark is the only shark that I would not 100% be sure that I would swim, like snorkel or dive outside of a cage with.
Yeah, I would dive in a cage with them.
I'm not saying I wouldn't, though.
Now, if I didn't know it was there, of course, then I would be diving with it unknowingly outside of a cage. But if I was like doing a great white shark dive, I would feel much more comfortable if I was doing it in a cage.
If there was an established group that did white shark dives without a cage, and they were doing it for a while, I would probably feel comfortable enough doing it in that situation. But I'd have to be in the right circumstance. So, but I would love to do a shark dive, a cage dive with the great white. I think that would be really cool, because really, the only way you're going to see a great white is if you happen to be lucky enough to see one off of the side of a boat, or if you are really lucky and see one while you're diving, or if you do a cage dive, because you can't see them in aquariums. Nobody successfully keeps great white sharks in captivity. It's just nobody's figured out how to do it. And part of the problem is that great whites, they migrate, they travel a long ways, they have a lot of dietary requirements, but also they're kind of high stress sharks, and they're fast swimming sharks. Their closest relatives are mako sharks, which are the fastest of all the sharks. And so you put them into an aquarium and they freak out, and they end up damaging themselves, stressing themselves out, and they end up dying. And of course, aquariums, if they're reputable at all, which most aquariums are, the last thing they want to do is bring an animal into captivity and then have it die. So it's been attempted a few times, mostly in Asia, but the only place I know of that's ever had any success with great whites is the Monterey Bay Aquarium, that has kept juvenile great whites in an outdoor thing connected to the bay for a limited amount of time, and then they released them so they could study them.
So speaking of young great whites, do you know how big they are at birth?
Ooh, I don't, but they are live bears. You do?
I do.
How big are they?
5 feet.
5 feet.
5 feet.
So do you know how many they have at a time? Because 5 feet is big. Now, I do know that female great whites don't hit sexual maturity until they're probably about 33 years old. And males, I think it's in their 20s. So these are long-lived sharks, and one of the longest-lived sharks that we know of, other than like Greenland sharks, which probably live 400 years. But most sharks are going to be in the 20-year range. But there's like 500 plus species of sharks. So they're all over the place. But great whites
I have
probably
an answer
live
to
like
your
70
question.
years. Yeah.
2 to 12 babies.
12 5-foot pups?
Yeah.
Okay. Mom is, let's say she's a 17, 18-foot mom, and she's squeezing out 12 5-foot babies?
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy cow.
I don't want to be there at that time.
I wonder if the average is lower than that. Did it say what their gestation is on that? I see it says longer than humans.
Let me just look up those words.
So one of the ways that great white sharks do feed as well is they'll feed on dead whales. Whales die out in the open ocean. Sharks have a really good sense of smell.
12 months.
So they can find that rotting whale carcass. And they don't, a misnomer about sharks is that they need to eat all the time. They do need to eat a lot, but they don't eat that often compared to like mammals and stuff, like compared to dolphins and whales. They're not eating nearly that much. So like they can go find a whale carcass and they can get enough meat off that to sustain them for maybe a month and a half or something like that. So what was it?
12 months.
12 months. So a human's 9, 10, 11, 12. So about 3 months longer that those babies got to cook.
This that says 2 to 10 pups.
Yeah,
but still.
What website is that? Is that
this reputable? Is Britannica.
So I don't know. We need to do a little more.
The other one was Ocean something. Ocean.si.edu.
I would have guessed that their number would have been 2 to 4, 2 to 5, but maybe it's higher. That's interesting. Hey, you learn stuff new all the time, right?
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. What is Meg asking? I mean, she's 5'2", and that took me 38 years to reach. What is she wanting to know? How How to get to 5 feet. Okay, gotcha. It only takes them 12 months. It
Right.
took Meg like over 30 years to get to 5. Come on, Meg, you were full grown before
Mike
that.
said
weren't you?
another 38, you'll be 10 feet.
Oh, and hey, Mike. So yeah, great white sharks. What a cool animal, and like the cruising industry, something that gets slammed by the media that doesn't deserve it, and yet has prevailed and proven to be an amazing thing. So there you go.
Cool. That was a good cruise creature.
I think so. I love great white sharks. They're not my favorite shark, but I mean they're your introductory shark. You know, they're like your entry shark. There's another word for that, like like when you're starting a new thing, it's your entry level.
Entry level is the
I don't know, I
word.
feel like there's a better term for that. But anyway, they're your entry level shark for most people, I think, that get into sharks. Like you find out about the great white shark, which they're very cool. And then you start learning about other sharks, hopefully, and you find out that, wow, sharks are very diverse and very cool. And there's so many amazing things about them, like the Greenland shark living 400 years. That's crazy. But they're always hold a special place, and they're such beautiful animals. Like people say they look creepy, like, Discovery Channel always describes their eye. They don't have the nictitating membrane that some sharks have. Their eye just rolls back to protect it. So they're like, they focus on that. But if you watch a shark swim, not in a documentary where they're like feeding them things, but just watch them swim in an aquarium or in real life, or find a regular nature video, they are beautiful, graceful creatures that are just amazing. So, yeah. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Anything else we want to talk about before this episode's up? It is 8:00, so Para DJ's coming on if you are on the YouTubes.
Yeah.
So we can go ahead and wrap this one up.
All right. Well, on that note, it's time to head for the horizon. And until next time, seize the day.
Have a fantastic week, everybody. You know what?
What?
I remember it's gateway shark. That's what I was trying to think of. Gateway, like a gateway drug. The great white is your gateway shark.
Got it.
It's your gateway shark. Which I don't know why I could remember the word gateway. I'm from St. Louis with the gateway arch.
The arch.
I should know that word. That should just be like part of my regular vocabulary. But it's not. Also, thank you guys for sticking around after the credits. We should mention too, heading for the horizon. If you're not aware, we will be heading for the horizon in 2022, October, on the group cruise of the Down Under Cruisers. And while there's several other people, we always talk about the Down Under Cruisers because although we know and like the other groups, the Down Under Cruisers are they're our homies, right? So,
I mean, of the three, they're the ones that said almost daily texted you, "Are you going on the group cruise?"
Right. They really pulled twisted our arms.
Also, because it's 2 days
they have
after
the blackmail photos.
Because it's 2 days after my birthday, Alana is going to jump out of a cake.
That's right.
So,
and after seeing her New Year's hat that she had on, I feel like that's like something like that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Like the headdress there.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be a good cruise though. There's a lot of cool people on that cruise, including Kenny, who is in our chat right now.
Yes.
Who is going to be on there. So lots of cool people on that cruise. So check it out if you want to cruise with us. That one is going to the BC Islands.
No,
the AB Islands.
The ABs.
The AB Islands, as well as some other cool spots.
Do you know what those are?
The Dominican Republic.
Yeah, it's the cruise that we went on Horizon, except it's
to
B
Dominican
instead
Republic,
of C.
and then Bonaire and
Aruba.
Aruba.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with that. You cannot go wrong with that.
Yes, we do need to come over there to the West Coast, Scott. Also, Scott, I'm really glad that you joined us. I was thinking about you the other day.
Scott will be on our group cruise.
Yes, he will.
That's the Professor Travel. If you are not aware, in the chat there, Professor Travel. Also
He's
has a
chatting
great
on
podcast.
Facebook though, so most of them probably can't see that.
Well, he is there. So go check out the Professor Travel YouTube channel and podcast. What is Sean saying? It's one day after my mother's birthday too. The group cruise is one day after your mom's birthday. Is your mom? Your mom's not coming though, is she? No, she's not coming. Okay. All right.
Do I get my pause or are you just going to keep talking?
I'll pause now.
All right, you're good.
Was that long enough?
Yeah. Also, Meg said that Reno was really cute with his hippo.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, really.
That's just a weird picture because when you first put it on, the hippo looks like it's his face.
Well, he's more kind of snuggled differently with it now. It's just so darn cute.
Yeah, Scott, the dramatic pause is how Kimbra knows to stop and cut the podcast for the audio version, because we cut out the before it starts and the after that for the audio only version. So if you're not actually on YouTube, if you watch the YouTube video, you'll get the whole kit and caboodle. But if you're listening to the audio version only, you will lose out on some of this stuff. Although we feel like if you're not watching it with the chat and stuff, sometimes it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So that's why we do it that way. But yes.
Alana's on.
Hey, Alana. Well, she says, oh, I need to begin a diet now, or that cake will be too big to get through. Oh, that's not true, Alana.
No.
That's not true.
Plus, the bigger cake, the better.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, so
hey, Reno Mallory loves you.
He's sleeping. The dog is oblivious.
Which is new. Maybe it's because we're in this room.
Oh, maybe.
He doesn't like us in the other room.
He doesn't even know what's happening. He doesn't know there's a podcast going on. He thinks we're watching TV or something.
Because that's what we do in this room.
We were playing D&D virtually last night. It looked very similar to this, only without microphones.
Right.
So that could have been it too.
You going to talk about your new toy?
Sean, we are anxious to meet you as well. You guys, we want to meet everyone. So hang on, let me do this.
Everybody saw your booty boxers.
That's okay. That's part of the free show. So those of you that know, we did something kind of fun last week on Wednesday. We were off and her mom was in town, and for fun we went and shot bows and arrows. And I've always had a passion for the bow and arrow. Have not gotten to do it a lot, but she really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So we decided to go further with that. And so I bought a bow, and she's getting hers soon. They just didn't have the right bow for her, so they're gonna have to order it. So I got my. Are
you shooting me?
No, there's no arrow in it. We don't even have any arrows. But
yes, 5th edition D&D.
Yes. But it wasn't that expensive. You can get a bow like that. That one's called a takedown recurve bow, because you can take the pieces off here, which give you the strength, the poundage, and you can change them out.
It's also easier to transport if you take it apart.
It's true. But it wasn't too expensive, and we paid for a whole thing where we can go to the range for the whole year and shoot as much as we want. So it's on the way home from work. So we're going to just go, I wonder if they'd let us print our own targets with like orcs and stuff on them.
Why wouldn't they?
Right? We just have to print them out.
Yeah.
Find a cheap way to do that. Wouldn't that be cool?
Print the big piece of paper at work.
They're going to think we're such nerds. Like most people there, to be fair, are like hunters, which we're not. I don't necessarily have a problem with hunting. I just don't want to do it at all. But I eat meat, so whatever. But like, and then there's us. So there's like people with compound bows and camouflage, and then there's us who are picturing ourselves with pointy ears and
I have. We could put the pointy ears on when we go.
Did you see what I did? That's totally not how you
No.
do that. But anyway, yes, we are nerds. Hey, and look, if you come to Tampa, if anybody's coming to Tampa and they want to hang out, we can go get a meal or a drink. But we can also, if you want, we can also go shoot some bows and arrows, because you can do that even if you're not a member. You can do it. It's like, what was like $20 for an hour?
Yeah,
including equipment
with gear and
everything.
stuff.
So yeah.
Scott says he's down for D&D on the Groove Cruise. Well,
you know what, Scott? That is, the probability of that happening is looking pretty good.
We've got
who?
I bet Rowan would play too.
Rowan has played D&D. That's my little cousin, and I don't think Randy will play, but
he'd watch.
He would disrupt, is what he would do.
Okay, well, he can go drink with someone then.
But yeah, we have Scott and his husband, and we've got Rowan, and we've got I don't know if Andrew and Mallory are really D&D type nerds.
No,
but
I don't know about that.
They maybe would try it. But
if we can get Tony on the cruise, he'll play.
You can talk Tony into going if he doesn't have a baby or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll play.
Children.
I know, right? I feel like there's somebody else on the cruise that's a D&D person.
I know Dan said that if he books, he'll play.
Okay, we can get Dan on there.
I know Meg's talked about booking. She hasn't booked yet, but she said she would play.
Look, Meg, what other group cruise can you go on and play Dungeons and Dragons? Seriously. I mean, there's a reason my old podcast was called The Cruise Geeks. All right. I'm not just a geek on cruising. I'm like a geek for real. And Kimbra is like my partner in geekdom. So there you go.
You think I'm a geek?
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. Now, actually, I played D&D. I know I've talked about this before. I played D&D on a cruise. My second cruise I ever did, I got like some of my nerd friends to go on there with me, and I ran a D&D game. And it was on Royal Caribbean, and I ran it in the in the buffet area, and we just had like a little table. There was no good place to play, but and you've probably heard me say this before if you listen to the podcast, but we had like 10 crew members over, and they were just like totally engaged watching it. They were so into it. Now I'm sure they wouldn't have been allowed, but I would have loved to have gotten them into the game.
Oh yeah.
Like that would be so fun. Like can we just write to Carnival and be like, hey John Heald, can we borrow some of your crew on their, maybe it's their time off or something, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's their, maybe they can get paid to do it and play a little D&D with them. Like, I think they would really enjoy that.
Yeah.
It'd be like I'm sure there's some of them on there that would get a kick out of it. Anyway. We were the coolest people on the ship. Yeah.
We're all these cool people.
That's right. Now, Scott says, I just got off the Norwegian Bliss and they had plenty of space for games. Yeah, some of the ships I've been on since, I sometimes I see areas and I'm like, well, that would have been a good place to play D&D. But this was the Monarch of the Seas. That ship is no longer in existence. It was Royal Caribbean ship. It was old when I sailed on it, and then they sold it like a few years later, and then it got scrapped. So it was an old small ship, and it did not have a lot of space for things like that. Stacy says, I played once as a teenager. I'd love to learn how it works again and play sometime. Yeah, I mean, it's fun. You've got to be a geek, and you've got to like have a passion for being a nerdy fantasy person. You don't have to be like as nerdy as television portrays D&D. Like some people get really into it with their accents and stuff, and other people just say what their character's doing. But it's a fun storytelling experience. That's how I see Dungeons and Dragons. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons to kill monsters, although I do like killing monsters in Dungeons and Dragons. But I play it because it's a fun way to tell stories in a non-competitive way.
Have we talked about our characters for the game that we're playing?
Do we want to talk?
Does anybody care?
We've already talked about D&D for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes now.
I just really like my character.
I know. What else do we have going on? What else do you guys have going on? Mallory says the Cheeseheads are heading out. Game's on. Take care, all. Take care. I guess the Packers playing later tonight.
Must be. What else? What other game would they be watching?
Well, and that's the Cheeseheads, but I didn't know. Maybe they're playing that night game or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I made the mistake of watching the Dolphins today, so I'm footballed out for maybe the rest of the year. But
Scott wants to know more
about
my character.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead. Tell Scott about your character.
Well, if Scott's the only one, I don't want to bore everyone else. So my character is a Tabaxi Ranger. So for those of you that don't know, Tabaxis are like cat people. And
not like the Natasha Kinski film of the 80s. There was a movie called Cat People.
Okay, cat folk. Is that
Yeah.
better?
Yeah.
Meg said, there, see, they all want to know. So her name is Swift Feather, but you can call her Feather. She is adventuring with her partner Finn, which you will hear about later. This is Finn, and he'll tell you about his character.
Oh, I'm telling them about my character.
Yes,
too?
they both said, I would love to hear about your characters.
Oh.
They are from a clan called the Crystal Lagoon clan.
That's a Tabaxi from the D&D actual official stuff. Oops. That's like zoomed in. It's not that big of an image, but anyway.
Yes. So
we're not furries though. Don't make that mistake.
No.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Feather likes winged birds, feathered birds, and that sort of thing. So she actually has a companion eagle named Swoop. And what did we decide our weapon things are called? Did we come up with a name? Did we decide on it?
What on what?
Our rapiers.
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay. Well,
I think we did, but I've forgotten.
Yeah, so that's my character. She's her coloring is like based off of like a black jaguar, so she's like a real dark grayish color with like some black spots.
Because there is really no such thing as a Black Panther other than the Marvel hero.
Yeah.
There are there are melanistic jaguars, which makes them black jaguars, which are really cool cats.
Yeah. And she randomly knocks things off of shelves and tables, because that's what cats do.
Yes. In our first adventure, we've only played one night, and we're meeting the person who's giving us our quest. We're at an inn because it's D&D, and that's where they always start. But and all of a sudden, Kimbra's like, "I'm knocking the beer off," like of the person giving us the quest. She's like slowly just pushing it off the table. So that's fun.
They all went with it.
They did. I mean, that's kind of the fun of D&D, that you can be silly and fun and adventurous. Scott says, I am currently playing a half-elven hexblade in a D&D campaign where I am a Dutch-based warlock. Oh, okay. That's cool. And Sean says, the sun is shining and we are having a public holiday, drinking and chatting with YouTube buddies like you guys. Public holiday today, Sean? Are you guys celebrating? Like you got an extra day off or something like that? I gotta teach kids tomorrow.
It's Monday for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess they're off.
School's still out.
That's true. I guess it is here too.
You gonna talk about your character?
I also have a Tabaxi, which is the cat thing. But mine.
Sorry, let me go back. It's a ranger. That's like she shoots a bow. Sorry, go ahead.
So my character doesn't look like a jaguar. Mine looks like a margay. So if you're not familiar, margays are like smallish, kind of jaguar, jungle cat markings, but they have really big eyes. So, but my character is a rogue, which means it's sort of a sneaky, hide in the dark kind of character. My character is really good at running in, sneaking, stabbing you, and then running back out before you know what happened. That's kind of, and my character likes to steal things. He will start purring when he's happy, even though he doesn't realize he's doing it. And if he's really stressed out, he will drool and not be aware of that. So those are his kind of things. He also will take your stuff, not because he wants to steal it, just because he wants to know what it is. And then he'll usually just hand it back to you, which sometimes doesn't end real well for him, depending on whose stuff he takes. So, yeah. So it's fun. I've never played a tabaxi. I usually play elves or dwarves, occasionally humans. I've tried a few other races, but I've never done a tabaxi. So, in Australia, they get a day in lieu of that. I think we kind of get that here for most people. There we go. If we can get Brian on our group cruise, then I bet he would play D&D with us. And hello, Brian. So yes, he's curious, Meg. He's a cat. I mean, he's curious. He wants to know. That's the cool thing about tabaxi too. Like different races have their stereotypes as to what motivates them. You know, you can go with other things. You don't have to stick with stereotypes, but for the tabaxi, they're really interested in lore. So the tabaxi, instead of questing for gold, will often quest for stories, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the other things about my character is she's got like a feather on a string hanging down from her ear that she like messes with, kind of like, you know, this string with the feather on it and the stick that you play with your cat. That's kind of her thing.
And I know we've talked about doing virtual D&D for people. I know there's people in the cruising community, some of them in the chat, that would be interested in that. I have not ruled that out. We are learning how to do the virtual tabletop through this experience because I have limited experience DMing, running a game, and I have no experience with virtual D&D. So I'm hoping that this will give me the confidence to maybe run a game for people that want to play. It'd be kind of fun to do that.
Stacey asked if we have more than one character.
Typically, you would not have more than one character.
Unless you're playing multiple campaigns.
Right.
But for this game, we have our single character.
Yes.
As the DM, you play basically everyone else. So all the NPCs,
the monsters, the non-playable characters. Yeah.
So as a DM, technically you have multiple characters, but you as a player character, it's only you.
Right.
they don't have laser pointers in D&D.
We'd be in trouble.
We are using Roll20.
Yeah. So there's so much for you to have to pay attention to with your character that it would be really hard to play with multiple characters. Although I did run a solo game for you where you sort of had another character that you controlled a little bit.
It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it works okay, but
we didn't really know what was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you really need to focus on the one character because there's a lot. There's a lot to that character. You have to kind of always be in that character's boots if they wear boots. Or not. So cool.
Well, there's our D&D talk.
There you go. The Fintastic Cruising Podcast that becomes all about Dungeons and Dragons after it's over. And apologies to those that don't care about Dungeons and Dragons.
Those people have already left.
Probably have, yes. So
Stacey, have you played D&D?
He said he did when he was.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he said he was in school, but he would kind of be curious to learn it again. That's what I think. If it would be fun to play with people that, like, we have people like Scott that play all the time. That would be helpful to have somebody like that in there. Mm-hmm. But it would be fun to get people that
some new people
are interested that maybe don't have experience.
Well, it's kind of how we're playing now. Like the campaign that we're playing. True. We have 2 people playing that have never played before. They don't really know what they're doing. So it'll be.
Meg is playing a Ghostwise halfling druid named Korik Sproutwick. He's interesting. That sounds interesting.
Cool.
So yeah, Meg's another D&Der. So we have enough people that we could get a few people to probably play that would be able to help pull the other ones along until they got comfortable and just play like, not like a long campaign, but just like maybe a one shot, which means a game that takes place just in one session or maybe a couple sessions, and tinker with it and see if it grows from there. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, have you ever ran a game or do you just play? Gina says, my son-in-law got my daughter the starter kit for Christmas.
Oh, cool.
Is that what we got, or did we get the essentials?
We don't have the original starter kit. We have we have the essentials, but they're both really good.
Right. I just couldn't remember which one.
We got the essentials because it has specific rules for doing one-on-one D&D, which is a kind of a rare thing, but they're both pretty good. Great way to get into D&D for sure.
Yeah. Scott has run games often.
Oh, cool.
Gina said she's played, or she would play, but she knows nothing about it.
That's okay.
We could help you. We would love to get you in a game.
Yeah, that's all right. Let's see. I saw something else up here. Oh, now we need a D&D creature. So Stacy, I will say that our friend Tony Dials, who does the Harry Potter podcast called Common Room Talk, he features a creature in his episodes, but instead of a cruise creature, they are creatures from the Harry Potter universe, which is kind of cool. So that is kind of a neat thing. I don't know. Does he do it in every episode, or does he do?
I don't think so, because there's not as many creatures.
Right. He does a little differently.
He has a limited number, so he's spreading it out. Dave Burgess is on.
Hey, Dave.
You asked for people who don't know what they are doing, and my alarm went off on the computer.
Nice.
The last campaign that Scott ran was based on a winter Russian-based campaign.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
Cool.
And Sean says, need to step up on our Vegemite. What? Needs to stack up on his Vegemite. Oh, sorry, Matt. I don't understand. I missed something there.
Because he doesn't like Vegemite?
Well, I know he doesn't like Vegemite. He's weird like that. Oh, you mean the microwave beep, Dave? Exactly. Dave is easily distracted, but that's okay. He could play a tabaxi.
Oh, yeah.
I guess Dave's off too. Since Australia, everybody just takes the day off. We all have to work here.
We should live in Australia. We've been watching YouTube archery videos and stuff because that's what we do. We get into something new and then that's all we watch.
Look, for some reason, like all of our favorite non-cruising, well, really
some cruising,
some of our there's just not as many cruising ones, but we like a lot of my favorite YouTube channels take place in Australia. And I say non-cruising, obviously we love the Down Under Cruisers, but I say non-cruising because we of course have that connection with our Australian people in the cruising world. But like one of my favorite art channels is in Australia, just by happenstance, not because he's Australian. Jazza
is amazing. If you like art stuff, you should watch. Channel. And he's not just like drawing art. Like
he started that way, but
he's not anymore. He does all kinds of fun stuff. Jazza's wonderful.
And then the main archery channel we've been watching, is a guy named New Sensei, and he's Australian. And so
his videos are great.
We didn't seek out an Australian archery channel. We just were looking at archery videos, and his kept popping up, and they were the most helpful and useful for most of the stuff. And he just happens to be Australian. There was something else that we were watching, and it was Australian YouTube. I
don't remember what it was.
There's like a really fun sort of like D&D channel where they act out. They get dressed up and they act out like it's actually like little TV episodes of D&D.
And that's the one that we've watched?
Yeah. Oh. The one with the tiefling and they.
Oh yeah, are they Australian?
They're Australian.
Oh
yeah, they're Australian.
I don't remember who they are.
I think the government like gave them money to make videos during the shutdown or something. Huh. They started doing that and they were like really popular.
James said bows and arrows, throwing axes, and dinosaurs. What a lovely couple.
Right? Sean, look, if you want to bring me some Vegemite, you are welcome to do so. But I do have access to Vegemite in the United States. I can order it through Amazon, or there's a shop that sells British stuff that usually has it in stock. So while I would never turn down Vegemite from anyone, don't feel like you need to supply me with it because I do have a source for it.
And he still got some.
And I do still have some. I took it to work for the Christmas party, but nobody ate it. It was
A couple
weird...
of people. Lindsay grabbed it and tried it. Janelle grabbed one.
Yeah.
That's all I know of.
Did Lindsay try? Lindsay tried
Yeah,
it?
Lindsay tried
Did
it.
she like it?
No.
No.
And Edie tried it.
And I don't like her.
Aw, we like Lindsay.
I'm just kidding.
Scott said, "Did you ever watch the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon growing up?"
I did. Of course I did. You were too young.
Yeah.
And now you couldn't.
You can't find it anywhere.
Oh, you can find it.
Oh, can we find
That
it?
That is not something you want to go back and watch.
No.
It did not age well.
We've watched some things.
Yeah, we watched the we watched the animated
the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's an animated Dungeons and Dragons that was from the Dragonlance universe. But no, there was a Saturday morning cartoon of Dungeons and Dragons it was great when I was a kid, but I'm pretty sure it would be terrible now.
Oh.
You've probably seen it. There's like the Dungeon Master's like this little short bald guy. One of your stickers I got you in that pack has him in it. So
look, I got these really cool D&D stickers. Oh, you want to show everyone what you got for Christmas? Matt?
What?
You show everyone what you got for Christmas?
3D printer?
No. Your dice?
Oh, my dice.
Wow.
Well, I can't show those dice on here.
They're all adults, and your mom's probably off.
So Kimbra got me dice, and they're metal dice. They're like kind of coppery. In Dungeons and Dragons, you often roll a 20-sided die, which is what this is. And in most cases, the higher the number, the better. And in many cases, if you roll, that's blurry. I don't know if I can get to be clear. If you roll a natural 20, that's usually really good things happen. If you roll a natural 1, bad things really happen. This one doesn't have a 1 on it. It has a word that is probably blurred out, which is okay.
You can't see it.
Because it starts with the letter F and it's got 3 other letters. So
is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, that's in the cartoon.
Is that the sticker you were talking about?
I thought I saw the Dungeon Master on one of them, but that is the old cartoon.
Yeah, Matt got me this pack of like all of these D&D stickers because he's wonderful. I also got a D&D Mad Libs.
Yes. After we did that Mad Lib on when did we do that? We did that on one of our lives.
Yeah, it was our last episode.
Was it the last one?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
I know.
And I was inspired, so I actually got that. I found that on Amazon.
Yeah. And then I got a dice jail.
Yeah, so when she's rolling a lot of 4-letter word dice, she can put them in jail for a while. Ilana says, I used to dread the archery when taking my students to camp. Was so useless at it, very embarrassing. You needed the sensei guy to teach you.
Yes. New sensei is wonderful. He'll teach you.
Here's what I will say about archery based on what I know, which is a limited amount. But I know enough to say archery is one of those things that if you're not shown how to do it properly and given at least reasonably proper equipment, it can totally jade your whole experience on it and make you hate it. If, however, you are given proper equipment, that doesn't necessarily mean expensive. My bow wasn't very expensive. And you are shown how to properly do it, it could potentially be a lot of fun. So the old like kid bows that we shot those, I mean, no, I didn't know what I was doing. Although Joe did teach me a little bit of archery when I was a kid, and that was helpful. But for the most part, wasn't all that helpful. What is Scott saying? Tell Matt to watch the Brazil Dungeons and Dragons commercial. Oh, I don't. Is it like waxy smooth? Get it? Brazil. No.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
He said the commercial is very high quality. I'm guessing that's sarcasm.
Why is Sean telling Meg to shut up? They won't let us in.
I don't know. I missed something.
All right, we will check it out, Scott. He put a link in there.
Stacy said kind of like trying to snorkel with Walmart equipment.
Another good example.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to go break the bank when you buy snorkeling equipment, but if you get the crap stuff from Walmart and then you go snorkel, you may hate snorkeling. And if nobody like shows you the basics of snorkeling and you snorkel, you may be like, I can't do this. This sucks. I don't ever want to do this again. But if you have adequate equipment and somebody gives you the basics, it can totally change your experience. Vegemite. Yeah, we'll let you in. We'll let you in with Vegemite. The country. There's enough of us Americans that like Vegemite.
Right. Scott is heading out. Thanks for joining us, Scott. I've got the video pulled up on YouTube, so when we get off, we'll watch it.
We'll check it out. We will check it out.
Right. We still need to go to the grocery store.
Oh God, we do. They're going to close in like 20 minutes.
They close at 10.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
On Sundays?
Yeah, I looked it up.
Oh, okay, cool.
Like while we were in the middle of the podcast, because I wasn't sure.
You're like, oh no, the grocery store. Yes, we are. We were doing really well on our diet until we started cruising in August, and then August, September, October,
November.
We didn't cruise in December, did we?
No, you wouldn't let me book one.
No, because Anyway,
I tried.
That derailed our diet, and yeah, it's been a bit. We never really got back up on the horse, but we're starting back up on the horse. New
year, new us.
Tomorrow, we're getting back on the horse. Tomorrow.
I don't really like horses.
We're getting back on the dragon.
Oh,
Chasing the Dragon's not a good historical reference, though. We're not smoking opium, but that's what did you know that's what Chasing the Dragon is? Chasing the Dragon is what they used to call smoking opium. Like if you were addicted to opium, you were chasing the dragon.
Okay.
So
New Year, more tacos. Ooh, that sounds really good.
There are healthy tacos. Yeah. Yeah, Stacy, yeah, we've totally forgotten any diets, plus we're cruising in 12 days. Right. So yeah. You can't diet when you know you're going on a cruise. You gotta work up to that cruise food. You can't just diet and eat like a whatever eats healthy, and then all of a sudden you go on a cruise and you start eating like you're on a cruise. That can really, you can shock your system in a bad way. Like you gotta kind of work up to it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we are going back to Indiana and St. Louis, or not St. Louis, Missouri, in about a month.
Yeah, the end of January.
So we will be eating badly then.
Yeah.
But until then, we're going to try and eat healthy, so that I don't outgrow all of my current clothes that I have. I've already outgrown a lot of them.
I know. I can't wear. We bought all of this new stuff for our August cruise, and I can't fit into any of it anymore.
So there you go. All right. Well, on that note, we will go ahead and let you guys go. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We had a lot of fun, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Don't know if the podcast is going to be on Friday next week. Probably.
We don't have anything else going on.
Yeah. So I think it'll be back to its normal Friday next week.
Unless suddenly Friday gets here and we're like, oh, we're not ready.
But we will let you know, and we'll talk to you then.
Yeah. Bye.